Human obsolescence. Is it a good thing? Of course it is. Everyone knows that humans are emotional and erratic, and frankly, lazy. That's why the ruling council had to assign a robot to every human household. They simply couldn't support themselves otherwise. Today on the Comic Book Report, Not All Robots by Mark Russell and Mike Deodato Jr. from AWA. Stick around and check it out. Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today we've got another trade paperback by way of AWA. This is Not All Robots. For my money, one of my favorite social satires I have experienced in some time. This dystopian robotic future is a real treat and I can't wait to talk about it today. Before we do though, just a huge thank you to those at AWA for sending over this review copy in exchange for this honest review. And I'd just like to shout out the channel sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, I always recommend you check out their website. You can find a link to them in the video description, and if you see anything there you like, you can use my discount code at checkout, The Comic Book Report, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support this channel. Thank you for considering. Now on with today's review. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The comics in this volume were written by Mark Russell, with art from Mike Deodato Jr. The comics in this volume were published by AWA beginning in 2021. The volume itself collects Not All Robots, issues 1 through 5. And finally, this is a standard size trade paperback collection with glossy print paper stock, a glued binding, and a total of 128 pages. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first dedicated look at the front cover for today's trade paperback collection. I believe that this is the issue cover for issue 1, if I'm not mistaken, of this series. I love it. It's sort of a quintessential, like, Thanksgiving meal kind of homage, but we have a dystopian robot flavor to it all. It's very grim, very kind of insidious and dark. The perfect cover for a series like this. Transitioning to the spine of this trade paperback, we have the AWA logo, the title, the creators, and a little volume 1 at the bottom. I do think that this is interesting. I'm not sure if we're getting a volume 2. I do think that this collection can stand great as a standalone. That being said, if there is a sequel effort or a volume 2 in the future on the horizon, well, that's definitely something I would try to keep an eye out for. On the back of this trade paperback, we have a blurb about the book, reviews, pricing information, things like that, and of course this brilliant art piece that again is one of the covers to the issues. I think that this is a spin on American Gothic, but again replacing it with robots. I think kind of taking these staple illustrations of Americana and then adding robotics to it is definitely a really fun approach to design work here. And now, for all you prospective collectors out there, let's go ahead and show a quick look at this book's binding. As I mentioned, this is a glued binding, and I'm happy to report it was a solid bind. To me, this is just a standard trade paperback binding style. There's a little bit of gutter loss, nothing too critical I found as I was flipping my way through, so no complaints from me. I don't think these pages are going anywhere anytime soon. Okay, and now that we've gone over the exteriors and the build of the book, we can go ahead and make our way in. We have some publication page information, title page, then we have an actual introduction or foreword from Patton Oswalt. I thought that this was a really good kind of criticism or look at this work, and it definitely set the stage for everything I was about to read. I was really happy to see it included. I love a collection with a good introduction or afterword. After that, of course, we jump right into the first issue of Not All Robots. I should say as well, in case you missed it on the front cover of the trade paperback, this is a Will Eisner Award-winning book. Eisner Awards are the most prestigious honor in the world of comic books, graphic novels, as far as I'm aware. So definitely a big get here for this series, and I think it's well-deserved, honestly. In case you're wondering what is Not All Robots, let me go ahead and just present it to you. Essentially, it is a social satire first and foremost. It presents a dystopian future that is not all that far away, or at least it feels that way, where basically humans have been rendered, well, obsolete, replaced in many duties or functions and vocations by robots. In fact, as you saw in the kind of opening little clip I did, there's actually like a mandated robot in every home, and robots take a lot of the good jobs, and humans are kind of relegated to second class citizens. Honestly, the breadwinners are these robots, and human involvement or purpose starts to wane a bit in these societies or communities. And along the way, we have kind of a growing pressure situation with the human groups and the robot groups. The robots feel sort of underappreciated, or like they're this lesser class that is actually the superior class. Humans feel that the robots are infringing on their rights, or that they've been, again, relegated to the secondary status as well. And it's just this real kind of boiling pot that's about to break into revolution or chaos, and you really feel that palpably across the entire series. There's also this growing kind of threat or conflict where there's basically a second generation of these household robots that they plan to roll out soon that are going to be more human-like and will presumably take the roles of these kind of entry-level first-generation robotics. So we have kind of a stacking of the storytelling, and even though it's not something that most people or robots are aware of throughout the story, basically the robots are about to be rendered obsolete by the new generation in the same way that the robots rendered a lot of humanity obsolete. So there is kind of this layered effect to the theme here of purpose being obsolete, what is kind of everyone's role here. And it really is a fascinating just examination of technology in mainstream cultures and societies and workplaces and automation. And it really had me asking all the right questions, I presume. This does have a dark, kind of tongue-in-cheek, layered humor to it that I found to be really poignant and interesting. Like I said, it is a satire of the highest caliber in my mind. In fact, it might be one of the most or best examples of satirical writing I've read in this medium to date. If you have other great comic book satires, let me know in the comments. Always down for a good read. But yeah, really brilliantly done here by Mark Russell. Russell is a name in comics that I've heard quite often, but I will admit that this is actually the first work I have ever read from him. I know he's pretty highly regarded in many comic book reading circles, and if that's you, let me know comments of other works by him as well. I would be fascinated to see what he does on other books. Mike Deodato Jr. is back on art here at AWA. I notice he does a lot of artwork over here. I really enjoy his style, and he is in rare form here. The way he has depicted this dystopian landscape, we have a lot of science fiction tropes and imagery throughout, down to the robotics, to these kind of bubbled, domed cities and beyond. I was really just so immersed in the storytelling, I really can't tell you how gripping it was. We follow a robot that feels really disgruntled on the brink of this rollout of the next generation of robots. He is linked to this family that has a lot of internal tension, where the father has kind of completely accepted his role as a submissive, lesser class being, really just doting on the robot for helping to be the breadwinner. The wife kind of looks on with just disdain and kind of just embarrassment at her husband in some ways. The kids are kind of ready to lead or be a part of the human revolution, being really unsettled in their own home. Everything, again, kind of comes to that boiling point, like I mentioned, as the rollout gets closer. We have robots doing their own kind of uprising, like we have them basically sucking the air out of a theme park city that ends up killing a lot of humans. We have, just on the domestic front, a lot of tensions and things unravel and break down. We have kind of a violent revolt of some kind that is absolutely squashed by the robotic kind of ruling council or judiciary right away. That kind of leads to the mom of the family being kicked out of the dome city for a kind of wasteland scenario. We actually have the children and a robot kind of follow her out and presumably try to find their life outside of the dome city. And then we have the father of the house kind of, again, just being in that role of letting the robots take over and being sort of ignorant and just going with it. That's kind of where we leave that family. The robots as well deal with a lot of the changes in fascinating ways. I think something I really like that Russell did here is give the robots so much humanity. They are flawed in what appears to be the exact same ways as the humans they have rendered supposedly obsolete, and therein lies a lot of humor as well. It's like they're almost identical to humans in many ways, and yet they cannot seem to relate on that level. The way they are kind of xenophobic with humanity and vice versa. It's like you really see just the similarities and not the divide here. But yeah, really, really fascinating work here. Like I said, I was absolutely immersed on every page. I think the social issues this presents were intriguing. I never felt like it was preachy or over the top. You're definitely really embedded in the narrative. But at the same time, there's a lot of humor, fun characters, and you can just also enjoy it on a surface level. But wow, does this thing have a surprising amount of depths and layers. I had heard good things about it, but I was still absolutely blown away. Would I read a sequel series or a volume 2? Absolutely, but do I think this stands alone as a kind of graphic novel reading experience? Yes, I really do. You absolutely don't need to read anything before picking this up, and when you finish it, you do have a complete story, beginning, middle, and end, with a little bit of just kind of ending notes that kind of could lead to future adventures, but again, just really, really brilliant stuff here. I was really happy with it. At the back of the collection, we do have a couple notable extras. We have some covers, and then we have some written work like essays or afterwords. We also have a section that's kind of script to page. We have kind of little outline scripted notes alongside kind of preliminary drawings, just inks or pencils. I really like this. I think that this is a fantastic look at kind of behind the scenes making of. Again, those essays allow for some really cool reflection that I enjoyed seeing. And with the trade paperback, you don't always assume extras, and yet AWA, this trade paperback, we have a good handful, and I was happy to see that, especially with a collection I enjoyed this much. And really, that brings us to the end of the trade paperback collection. We have a couple solicits for other books or materials, collected editions from this publisher, and really, that is Not All Robots by Mark Russell and Mike Deodato Jr., again from AWA. I thoroughly enjoyed this read, but I think all that's left to do now is to give this collection a grade. Perhaps it will come as no surprise hearing me just speak so highly of this brilliant social satire for the last 10 minutes or so, but the Comic Book Report is happy to give Not All Robots by Mark Russell and Mike Deodato Jr. from AWA an A. This was a must-read book for me. I absolutely adored this. One part sci-fi, one part satire, one part really dark humor. This had so many incredible ingredients, layers to it, fantastic characters and moments, beautiful artwork throughout. Honestly, it exceeded all of my expectations and gave me even more than I had hoped. I can see why this would win an Eisner Award, and personally, I agree. I had so much fun with this, but again, that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments if you've read Not All Robots, or if this is something you'd like to read for yourself. Let me know as well if you have preferred books or other works from Mike Deodato Jr. or Mark Russell. Always love to hear that. Again, a huge thank you to those at AWA for providing this review copy, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, that comment we talked about, and maybe share this video with a friend. Thanks everyone, bye.